Oh, I was just, well, anyhow, just saying that, so there's so much opposition. But somehow I feel that Baba maybe really souped it up, in my case. Back to the story. Well,
Edward was going back to Miami.
Yeah, so Edward was saying that he would go back to Miami with my father. And I was thinking that we should really go together. But you see, Edward really had a very good heart about this, because he wanted to please my father, his feelings. And this was something that I felt was noble, although I thought it still would have been better had we both gone together. And even Edward later admitted that that would have been the best thing, that we should have both gone together at the time, even though my father didn't approve. So then my father saw me off at the airport, and everything seemed to be fairly all right, and we went. So I went, excuse me. Now I was on my way to Meher Baba after this big commotion. And it took 24 hours, and I was met in Bombay and was brought straightways to Baba. And I saw Baba early in the morning, the next morning of the day I arrived. And apparently, you see, Baba was sitting in his room. He was sitting, he was sitting in his chair, and I could see him through the car window, the rear seat of the car that I was in. I could look through the window, and I could see, oh, there's the doorway where Baba is. And I could see Baba inside, and he was looking out, and he was smiling. And he was motioning like this for me to come over. So I got up, and I ran out, shot on over to where Baba was. And the first thing he did is he gave me a big hug and embrace, and then he kissed me on both my cheeks, and he had me sit next to him. He was sitting in his chair, and there was about 15 or so of his close ones with him at the time, and they were just, watching everything and people under his guidance. So I sat down, and then Baba turned to me. The first thing he said, "Where is Edward?" So I said, "Baba," briefly I told him what had happened, that Edward couldn't come because my father tried to stop us, and then my brother decided that he would ease my father's feelings by going back with him. And then I just went on myself then. So he said, "It would have been better had you both come together, as I had said. You would have benefited more. You both would have benefited more. But," he said, "now I want you to send Edward a telegram, and you tell him that he will benefit just as much as you will, and that I will be with him. Even though you are here with me, I will be with him." Now, there's a story about this, too, when I got back, of how Baba really was with my brother during that 2 weeks that I was there with Baba. In the meantime, Baba, as time went by, he said, "How long were you to be here?" So I said, "Baba, you said I could stay 1 hour." And then he motioned like this. Means, "What time is it?" And somebody said the time, and he looked at me very puzzled. He said, "How can this be?" I said, 1 hour, and it's already 2 or 3 hours. So how can this be? I said, "Baba, I don't know." Then he pointed to someone. "How can this be?" He said, "I don't know." "How can this be?" "I don't know." "How can this be?" Nobody seemed to know. Well, this was really very amusing, the way Baba was doing this. And then he became serious, and he said, "I want you to be with me every morning at 7:30, and Meherji will come, pick you up from your hotel, bring you to see me, and then he'll bring you back to have lunch, and you come back and be with me until I dismiss everyone." And now this apparently was to go on indefinitely. And this really suited me fine, because I didn't even want to leave. After that first few minutes of being with Baba, I can say that I just felt like a long-lost son that had one day come home. And I didn't have any compunctions about Baba's divinity or anything about him. I felt that he really was everything that he said. But Baba wasn't like awesome. It wasn't as if, oh, here I am in the presence of God, what am I to do? It wasn't like that. Baba wanted people to be natural, to be their normal self, but with the remembrance and the awareness in their mind that he was God, you see. That he could play with you, he could laugh with you, he could be with you, he could advise you, he could tell you the future if he wanted to. I'm not saying he just did things like that, but sometimes he made you know things, what was to come, and various other things, different things that he did. But always where you maintain the respect of who he was, but you should also be yourself, and not to try to be pious or saint, or to be something that you're really not. If you're not a saint, you can't try to be a saint. You should just be yourself. And all a person could do in Baba's presence was just to surrender themselves, their weaknesses and their strengths. People don't often think about surrendering their strengths, but that is as much a part of your limitations as your weaknesses. The truth is that you have to find your real self. And that's all Baba gave importance to. And to love as the means through which this is done. So Baba was most loving. He was most kind and most compassionate. Just as you hear about Jesus, how meek and loving and wonderful a person he was with those that were with him, and yet how wise he was. And with Buddha, how his enlightenment and his compassion. Well, you could see that these qualities of love and truth were just constantly and continuously ever present around Baba. The fact of his divinity was always there, though it need never be spoken even. I mean, just his presence was enough. You could experience it and feel it yourself. So I felt it like that, and I just felt that this is where I wanted to stay now. Now I didn't want to go home at all. I didn't want to return back. I wanted to stay with Baba and live with him. And I was wondering whether this would be possible for me to do. Then Baba asked, one day he asked, is there any questions? Does anyone have a question? So I thought, well, I don't really have any question. But then he kept asking everybody, he repeated that a couple of times, and no one raised their hand. Then he turned to me and he said, Irwin, do you have a question? So then I thought, well, if I have only one question to ask, what should this question be? There should be one question that answers every single question that there ever could be asked. I didn't know what that question was. So then I remembered, again, reading something of Baba's, and he said, the one who asks for my love will be the chosen one. This was something that Baba had once said. So immediately I said, Baba, can I have all your love? I thought, yeah, that's a question, that's a good one. Well, as soon as I asked this here, Baba just looked over and he looked at someone and he said, do you experience all my love? I said, no, Baba. I said, do you? No. Do you? Each one. Everyone said no. Then he turned to me and he said, why should I give you my love? Why shouldn't I give it to him or to her? Why should it be you? So I said, Baba, I would like you give your love to whomever you want to, but I want to experience it too. So then he picked up a jar, which was on the table next to him, and he just held it up like this, and he motioned around it like this here. He said, I am the ocean of love, and you are within the confines of this jar of ignorance, this jar. But there's a lid on the jar. And even though I am the almighty ocean itself, as long as the lid remains on this jar, the ocean cannot enter. So it is simple. Remove the lid, and automatically the ocean of love that I am will enter in, and you will become that. You will experience me as I am and see yourself as that. So Baba, but just then somebody else came in, and then the topic changed. Well, then a different thing happened. Baba, I don't remember which day this occurred on now, but we were all sitting in front of Baba, and Baba suddenly asked for everyone to leave. So I went in, so I was getting up to leave, but Baba motioned, no, I should stay. So everybody got up and they began to go out. And then I was all alone with Baba. So Baba said, he looked at me straight in my eyes. See, I was sitting on the carpet and he was sitting in his chair. And he just looked straight at me and he said, do you believe that I am the avatar? And I nodded, yes. And then he motioned to speak up. So I said, yes. Then he said, are you ready to obey? And I said, yes. And then he said, if I were to ask you to walk about the streets of Ahmednagar, the city there, completely naked, would you do it? So I said, yes. And then he said, and what if I were to ask you to eat food that you didn't like? Would you eat the food? And I said, yes. And then he said, and if I were to ask you to cut your head off for me, would you even be willing to do that? And I said, yes. And I was thinking, now I'm going to say yes to anything he wants, because I felt if he really is God, he's going to get what he wants out of me, whatever it may be. I'm going to do it. And I felt it was something of a test. Well, Baba didn't say anything further. He just, okay. People were brought in. Little was I to know that the next day, one of these things would actually come about. So, the next day, Baba was invited to this little girl's orphanage, in which he was asked to give his blessings to the children and to the teachers. So Baba did, he went there, and we all went there, and he embraced everybody, all the children and teachers. In the meantime, they passed out some of these candies, you see, these little round candies. And so I took one. That is the orphanage that passed it out. So I took one, and I took a bite out of it. And boy, I tell you, this was one of the worst things that I ever tasted in my life, this candy. And I'm standing right behind Baba. And I'm thinking in my mind, what if Baba just turns around and says to eat it? You know, I'm just imaging this in my mind, thinking of what Baba said the day before, that what if I asked you to eat something that you wouldn't like? Would you be able to do it? And this was like such a simple thing, but you don't know how bad this thing tasted. I couldn't believe that they would actually pass this around and call it candy. In the meantime, I have this little piece in my mouth, and I'm wondering, am I going to eat it or am I not going to eat it? And I'm thinking, well, if Baba turns around and says to eat it, then I'll do it. Somehow, I didn't know how, but I'd try. And on the other hand, if he didn't, then I wasn't going to do it. I didn't have to make up an order from Baba. So I took it out, and I didn't eat it. And I thought that was the end of the incident, but it wasn't. 1 year later, it picks up. This time my brother and I had both gone again to see Baba. And we were about now to leave back to the States. So this lady comes with a tray of candies. And normally Baba would give candy out. He always did, and as prasad, and it was really good. It was tasted just like candy is supposed to. So I took one of them, And I see, oh, it looks round, just like the year before. I had told my brother about this. I said, Edward, why don't you taste this candy and see? Because he had gotten one also. So I said, taste yours and tell me what it tastes like. So he takes a little bit. Tastes good, fine. And I see everybody else is eating theirs. And I said, oh, well, it couldn't possibly be the same thing. Nobody could know the secret of that recipe, whatever it was. So I thought, well, okay, here goes. Take a bite of it. Same thing. I picked up one year later, I pick up from where I left off a year before. And this is supposed to be something that no one is supposed to know about except me and the fact that Baba apparently produced this incident. So then I began to think, well, how am I going to eat this? If I try to swallow it all at once, it's too big. Can't do it. If I try to eat it in little tiny pieces, I can't do it because it prolongs the agony too long. Maybe I'll try and make my mind blank. That's it. I'll make my mind blank. But with this in your mouth, your mind could never be blank. And I wasn't that advanced yet. Then I even thought, well, I'll think of Baba, you know, surely he'll help me. And I thought about Baba, and I could still taste it with new relish, you know, with new poignancy. And then I realized there's only one way to eat this thing, and that's to do it cold turkey. Just the plain, out now, just eat it, you know, without no tricks. And I did. I ate it down like that. It was God's grace that I ate that. So it was the only one of those 3 incidents that have happened yet. Yeah, well, then Baba had, on that first visit, you see, he also asked me how I had come. So I said, Baba, it was by your will that I am here. Now this going back now to my first day that I was with Baba. And I said, it is by your will that I am here. And as soon as I said this, he motioned for me to stand up and to repeat it to the group that was in the room. So I said, I am here because it is Baba's will. And as soon as I said this, someone in the back raised their hand. And they said, but how did you earn the money to come? Very practical disciple. How I earned the money to come. And Baba, you know what Baba did? He just went just like this. And his gestures, Eric was interpreting his gestures, he was saying, that is not important. The way he said is the way he came. That it was Baba's will. And I knew how true this was because for 6 months I was really straining my brain and I couldn't figure any way of getting there. And until Baba sent that message, don't worry, circumstances will adjust themselves, and immediately it adjusted themselves, and so I was able to come. When people came up to Baba, there was one day that 10,000 people came to Baba, and that was the last day that I think I was there. And you could see that Baba just knew everyone. He knew their past, their future. He knew them from the time they came into existence as an entity, ages and ages ago, as to how they even came up to human form, that they could stand in front of him as a human being, and all that they'd ever have to pass through in order to one day realize him as God and realize themselves as being that same infinite God. You could just see Baba had the whole sketch of that person right before him. The mind of the person was an open book. The heart of a person was an open book. There were no secrets in front of Baba. I don't know how anybody could keep a secret or think in terms of some awkward moment or something too embarrassing that they couldn't tell to Baba. It was like Baba was so loving that you felt really open with him. And at the same time, he knew everything, you see. He knew. It's like a teacher that knows whatever the students are going to learn, but still asks the student a question because he wants the student to learn by asking. So Baba would ask questions as if he didn't know. so that we could learn through our own questions. And this would go on every single day. In the morning, the communications were read out to Baba, letters that came from different people in different parts of the world or wherever, and Baba would answer them immediately. It would be read to him, and then he'd reply, give the reply right then and there. And in the afternoons, at that time, Baba was seeing groups of people that came, and they would sing these bhajans to him, or they would really pour out their heart. You never see so much love. Well, you can. You really see it in some of the films, the movie films of Baba, where the people have so much love is coming from them. And mind you, Baba was silent. All this time that I was with him, he was really completely silent. Baba did not speak. But he communicated so effectively through his gestures and through, just through his expressions when he spoke with you or communicated something to you. And Erich would interpret his gestures. And after a while, you forgot even that Erich was speaking. It was like it was all coming from Baba. And it was naturally originating from Baba. And this was just, but there was so much grace and simplicity and just wonderful, just wonderful. That's why people would always be so magnetically drawn to him, just out of the love. You see, people weren't coming for anything but the love, because Baba wasn't giving them anything else. You know, I'm drying up and I'm running, and I don't know how you can listen so much either.
Baba said he would be with him, even though he wasn't there.
Yes, about what happened to my brother while I was spending those 2 weeks with Baba. So when I came back, my brother told me a very, very interesting story. He said that when he received this telegram that Baba had instructed me to send to him, that he would be with him, even though I was with Baba in India. Baba said in the cable that he would be with my brother in Miami. That is where my brother was. So my brother said that when he received, even before he received the cable, just before that, he began to feel such a feeling of love, that Baba was really loving him, and that there was just so much love coming to him, which he had never experienced before. It was so strong that when he would walk on the street, he would, people would sometimes just turn around as if there was a presence that had gone by them, and they would look to see where it was coming from, this wonderful love. When he would go to the beach, which he was very fond of doing, the children would come up and they would embrace him. They would put their arms around him. Strange children that he didn't know or meet them ever before. And and then he said for the 2 weeks he was just like constantly, continuously, day and night, feeling Baba's love so intensely and so strongly, and his presence being with him. And it didn't end or subside until I had returned. But when he received the cable, which I had sent from India, that what Baba had said, then he told me that acknowledged to him the fact that he felt that it was coming from Baba, but when he received that cable, then that's what confirmed it, you see, that this was really coming from Baba. And that lasted for 2 weeks for him, all the time that I was in India. Well, you know, I didn't want to leave, as I said. I really wanted to stay with Baba. And I should bring out that one of the things that was uppermost in my mind was that I really wanted to realize Baba, to see his divinity or his godhood. I could see him in his man form, but I wanted to see the divinity behind the form, to realize him as he really is. I felt that was the only thing that really mattered. And I remember that one time I was sitting, let's see, how did this happen now? That's right, everybody had been sent out of the room, and we were all sort of waiting on the veranda, and I was thinking about this. You know, I'm feeling very depressed. I'm feeling so depressed because Baba was not, I wasn't able to see him as he really is, in his divine state, see? And I felt that was the thing that I really wanted to see. So I was outside on the veranda, and I was thinking about this, and I was getting very depressed over the thought of not seeing Baba as he really is. So just then, this lady comes out from inside the house where Baba was. She comes over to me and she says, Baba knows everything, and he says that you should be cheerful and happy, particularly now that you're here with him, because he will see to everything and you have nothing to concern yourself about. He will do everything. And so she turns around and she goes back inside. I think this is really something, you know. Here I am. I'm feeling myself to get depressed. And what happens? This lady comes out and she wants to cheer me up with Baba's words. And Baba seemed to know. So, you know, it was very touching to me, and I felt better for a little while. And then I began to think about this all over again. I said, but I'm still not really seeing Baba at all as he really is, and that's really what I want to do. To know God as God should be known, in his fullness, in his absoluteness. So, I was thinking about this, and I'm getting depressed all over again. And as I'm sinking now to new lows, I'm thinking about it, and then just then that lady comes back out again. And she comes out and she says, Baba wants you to be happy and to remember his words, that he will take responsibility for everything and just to be cheerful and happy because you have nothing to worry about. And so she turns around, she goes back inside. And I'm thinking, this is really a marvel that Baba not only knows, but how compassionate he is. You know, how really loving he is, that he should send this person out. It isn't like Baba would say, oh, I know everything, and now I'll tell you what's going to happen. But you could see how he knew everything by these kind of incidents, things that really applied, something that really was meaningful to you. Well, then I remember I was told to wait in a certain room, and I was in that room by myself, and I began to think again. And I said, I'm still not seeing Baba as he really is. I really want to know him in his infinite love, his infinite bliss, his reality, the truth about God in its entirety. And I'm thinking, I know what I'll do. I'll write a note. And on the note, I'll say something about my state of happiness. And very discreetly, I'll give it to one of Baba's disciples, who will in turn hand it to Baba in an opportune moment. And in this way, I'll get the message to Baba. Just then, there's a knock on the door. And I go to the door, and I put the note in my pocket. And someone says, Baba wants to see you. I thought, gee, that's really something. I wonder what Baba would want to see me of. So I go into the next room, and just as I come in, Baba is sitting there again with a group of people with him then, and he says, Irwin, are you happy? So I said, no, Baba. And then he said, good. And I thought, good? And just then he motioned for me to sit down. So I sat down thinking, good. And then I was thinking, well, if it is good that one is unhappy over the fact that they do not experience the infinite bliss of God as part of his reality, I suppose then it is a very good thing to be unhappy about such a thing. So that's how I rationalized the possibilities of what Baba meant by that. And, you know, I cannot say that Baba gave me any revealing experiences, that he made me conscious of any of the higher planes, or gave me God realization. He didn't do anything of these things. But in the very beginning, I knew I would gain a communication with God. That was my original knowledge. Before when I went to New York at that time. And I was thinking the communication with God would be in his impersonal aspect, God the impersonal. I had no idea that my life would lead me along a path where it would be with the personal aspect of God, or God appearing at our level rather than us ascending to his level. His appearing to our level in order to bring us to his level, really, I suppose it should be said. But nevertheless, I felt I really did get that communication with God differently than I had imagined it. Because for many, many years, I had communications and correspondence with Baba, even when I wasn't with him, which is another story by itself. That was for 10 years, right up till the day Baba dropped his body. Finally, on the last day, when I was in India with Baba during that 2-week period, and now I was to leave, you see. So Baba called me in, and he said, if I ask you to obey me, will you do it? And I said, yes, Baba. Then he said, what if I ask you to return back to the States in obedience to me? Would you do that? So I said, yes, Baba. He said, then I want you to leave immediately, to return back and to carry out my instructions. And he said, remember this, distance means nothing to me. Time and space are no barriers for me. I will be with you wherever you are. So you don't worry, you be happy and cheerful. And just remember that I am always with you. And so then he embraced me. Bob embraced me. And I remember I stepped back. And you know, then I really had a very strange thing that happened. I felt like my hands were dripping. The sensation you get when your hands are very wet and they're dripping. Well, that's exactly the sensation I had, but very heavily so. And I even had to look at my hands to see if they were really dripping, which they weren't. I didn't see any. But the sensation of that was very, very strong. And this lasted a long time. And I felt that Baba had somehow, I don't know what to say, that he charged me up or what. I don't know what it was. No knowledge of it was given to me what happened, except that sensation was really something. It made me very restless for a long time, but because it was very energetic. And but then it gradually went away, and somehow I feel that, or I'd like to feel that it was something that had come from Baba. It seemed so. And that was the last that I saw Baba that year, in 1960. In 1961, this time I came again, this time with my brother. We both came together. And wouldn't you know, we both had to run away again. And this time we made our escape good. My father couldn't know anything. Baba asked when we came, he says, does your father know that you came? I said, no, Baba. And Baba just threw his head back and he looked up. But then I thought, well, maybe I did wrong, you know, because there was so many different things. There's so many obstacles we had to go through. That was just one. But you know what Baba did? He called us both up to him. Had Edward come up on one side and I on the other side. And then Baba went on to say, he said that here are the Luck brothers. They have come over continents. They have come such a distance only because of love for me. He said, and he began to praise us and praise us so much. And I was thinking, you know, I don't know I'm worthy of all of that, such high praise. You know, I don't like to be praised so much. But, you know, with Baba, whether he criticizes you or praises you, I wasn't about to say anything. And Baba went on to say that he said, such love must be rewarded. They have gone through so many obstacles, both mental and physical obstacles, all kinds of obstacles, to come here to be with me for only 1 hour. And this time it really was for 1 hour. There again, you know, I'm sort of telling you the story at the end. I didn't tell you all the obstacles that went on this time. But at the time when Baba was saying all this, I was thinking that if there is to be any reward, it should only be to see him as he really is, to know God the way God should be known, with unclouded vision, the true experience. And I felt that I don't know that this is I can't speak for Baba what he meant by reward, and I wasn't seeking reward. But I'm only saying it like it happened. So then I felt I would like very much just to, you know, stay with Baba, at least if I couldn't realize him, at least to stay with him until such time came. But Baba always wanted us to return back to the States. And he was really very happy about the way we always fought to get to him. And he loved my father very much, you know. He just was so amused by my father's antics and the way he was trying to prevent us from seeing him. You see, I just want to flash back on this just for a second, as what some of those obstacles were. See, Baba had said if it interferes with your job, you shouldn't come to see him that year. If it interfered with family finances, not family, but if it interfered with your finances, you shouldn't come to see him. If it interfered with family harmony, you shouldn't come to see him. And even if and then he said it wasn't even so much for the Westerners, but mainly for the Easterners, this particular gathering. So Westerners should not feel that they had to come. And so on like this year. And so many people didn't go. As a matter of fact, I think there was only about 7 people from the whole West that came that time due to all of these conditions. So I had to think at that time when we received this letter stating that there was going to be this darshan of Baba's, we received it in the middle of the 2nd week because Baba had said that you can only see him for 1 day of this 2-week period. And even on that 1 day, you could only see him for 1 hour of that day. So you could see him for any 1 day of the 2-week period for 1 hour only. And so then if anyone wanted to come with these conditions, you could do so. Well, my brother and I sat down very quickly and we said, well, no, okay. Baba didn't say that a Westerner couldn't come. He only said that it wasn't so much for Western, but Westerner, he didn't say couldn't come, so we'll take the benefit of the doubt and go. Then he also said that if it interfered with the family finances. So I thought, well then, if what is money for if it isn't to help you to develop yourself, to somehow gain spiritual insight or realize God? And if money can be used for this, then certainly it's not harmful. And so I felt, well, okay, in this condition it would be all right with that way of thinking, because my father didn't want me to go. Then he said if it interfered with your job, you shouldn't come. And I was working with my dad, you see. My father, as I said, didn't want me to go. So I thought, well, what is my job on earth if it isn't to find and know God? While everyone, or not everyone, but most of us are conditioned to thinking that our job is the work that we do every day, and then one day we die and we don't do that work anyhow. So the real job on earth, what you're born for, I felt was to find the truth about God and yourself and everything. So this couldn't interfere with it, seeing Baba, because Baba was certainly the one to bring that about. And then there's something else, family harmony. Oh, family harmony. I felt there was never no family harmony anyhow. And if there ever was going to be family harmony, Baba would somehow help that to occur. So with it all, we went. And And that's why I think Baba, you see, knowing all of these things. Now, mind you, we didn't write to Baba to ask him or to tell him all of these things. We just took off and sent a telegram saying we're coming. And that was all that outwardly Baba knew. But inwardly, Baba knew everything. So he went on to say all the obstacles that were in our way to see him without us saying what they were ourselves. And it wasn't, I suppose, necessary either for us to make such mention of it. Now it's interesting as part of the overall story. So my father then, later on, Baba always loved my father. I really have to say this because he always spoke of him as being very dear, and my mother too. My mother I don't mention much because she's an angel. She's so sweet and gentle person. And there's just nothing as exciting as with my father. But my mother is really, she's a very beautiful person. And she loves Baba now. She really is a Baba lover. And as I was saying before, my father feels that he has great respect for Baba now. He doesn't look at Baba as the devil like he once did. But he thinks of Baba as someone that really, as he said one day, Baba understands me. This was the thing that he said about Baba, that he really felt about Baba, that Baba really understood him. And he also said that he regretted not meeting Baba. And I was telling before how he just regretted not meeting Baba, and then he blamed me for not meeting Baba because he thought that I was the one standing in his way. Well, I just said, okay, Dad, you know, if you think like that. But actually, my father is really, you know, I did a videotape on him. So one of these days I may show it. And you know what he's talking about? When Baba appeared to him. This is after Baba dropped his body. After Baba passed away, he says that Baba appeared to him. Not once, but 2 times. And he didn't expect me to believe it at all, and he said he doesn't expect anybody to believe it, because if anyone told him such a story, he'd never believe it. But he said, regardless of whether you believe it or not, he said, Baba did appear to me, and he says, I don't know why he appeared to me, why he didn't appear to you, you see, because you're supposed to be his disciple, not me, but he appeared to me just the same. And then he went on to say that Baba told him that he would come to him 3 times, of which he says that Baba came to him 2 times so far. And he eagerly awaits his 3rd visitation. And so forth. Well, that's, yes. Anybody want to, huh? Anybody want to ask something?
Do you have time to tell about the details of the second trip, the obstacles that you had to get through?
The obstacles?
You know, like fleeing the country?
On the second trip? Oh, well, you see, the second time when we left, we just didn't say anything, period. We just disappeared one day. That was all. Just disappeared. And even then, I think my father realized after a night or 2, a couple of nights, that we had gone, you know, that we had left. And we must have gone to India, but he had already exhausted